This video, you will learn on how to construct truth table. A truth table is a table that shows the truth value of a compound statement for all possible truth values of its simple statements. As discussed in the previous video, we have the truth table for the following compound propositions. First, we have the conjunction. Under conjunction, it will be true if both the propositions are true. Otherwise, it will be false. Next is the disjunction. Under disjunction, it will be false if both the propositions are false. Otherwise, it will be true. Then we have conditional. Under conditional, we have the terms which are the hypothesis and conclusion. Your hypothesis is the first proposition and the conclusion is the second proposition. So in here, it will be true if your conclusion is true, or it will be true if both the hypothesis and the conclusion are true. Next is the negation. Negation is the opposite value of the given truth value. So if the truth value is true, then the negation of it is false. If it is false, then the negation of it is true. Now it's time for us to construct truth tables. First, construct a truth table for P and negation of P. As we can see on the table, we have the possible truth values for the proposition P. Then, we need to get the negation of P. So, if P is true, the negation of P is false. If P is false, then negation of P is true. Next is to get P and negation of P. In here, we'll be needing the concept under the conjunction. So under conjunction, it will be true if both the propositions are true. Otherwise, it will be false. So if P is true and negation of P is false, then P and negation of P is false. If P is false and negation of P is true, then that will be false. Next, construct a truth table for negation of the quantity P and Q. So we have here on the table all the possible combinations of truth values of the propositions P and Q. First, we need to get P and Q. That is conjunction. So it will only be true if both the propositions are true. So if P is true and Q is true, then P and Q is true. If P is true and Q is false, then P and Q is false. If P is false and Q is false, then that will be false. If both P and Q are false, then that will be false. Next is to get the negation of the quantity P and Q. In here, we'll only be needing the truth values under P and Q. Then, we will negate it by means of getting the opposite value of the given truth value. If it is true, then that will be false. If false, then that will be true. And another true, and another true. Next, construct a truth table for P or negation of Q. So we have on the table all the possible combinations of truth values of the propositions P and Q. First, we need to get the negation of Q. So that is the opposite value of the given truth value under the proposition Q. So, if it is true, then that will be false. If it is false, then that will be true. If true, then that will be false. If false, then that will be true. Now, it's time for us to get P, or negation of Q. So, this is a disjunction. Under disjunction, we have said a while back that it will be false if both these statements or the propositions are false. Otherwise, it will be true. So, we have the truth values under the proposition P and the truth values under the negation of Q. So, if P is true and negation of Q is false, then P or negation of Q will be true. If both are true, then that is also true. If both are false, then that is false. Then, if P is false and negation of Q is true, then that is true. Next example, construct a truth table for the quantity if P then Q or negation of P. So we have on the table all the possible combinations of truth values of the propositions P and Q. First, we need to get if P then Q. So P will be the hypothesis and Q will be the conclusion. So we'll be needing the truth table for the conditional. So it will be true if your conclusion is true. Or if both the conclusion and the hypothesis are false, then that is true. So we have the conclusion Q. So if it is true, then that is true. If that is false, then that is false. If it is true, then true. If both are false, then that is true. Next is to get the negation of P. So we only need the truth values under the proposition P. Then get the negation of it. If it is true, then that is false and another false. If it is false, then that will be true and another true. Now, it's time for us to get the quantity if P then Q or negation of P. So that is also disjunction. Under disjunction, it will only be false if both the propositions are false. Otherwise, it will be true. So we'll only be needing the truth values under if P then Q and the negation of P. So we have the truth values true, false, that is true. Both false, that is false. Both true, that is true. And another both true, that is true. Example number 5. Construct a truth table for if P, then the quantity if Q, then P. So we have the possible combinations of the truth values of the propositions P and Q. So in here, we need to find if Q then P. So Q will be your hypothesis and P will be the conclusion. That will fall under conditional. So it will only be true if your conclusion is true or both the hypothesis and conclusion are false. So we have true and true, that is true. False and true, that is true. True and false. So your conclusion P is false, then that is false. Then both the hypothesis and conclusion is false, then that is true. Next is to get if P, then the quantity if Q, then P. So that is also conditional. So we'll only be needing the truth values under the proposition P and if Q then P. In here, your conclusion will be if Q then P. And the hypothesis is the proposition P. So we have true, true, that will be true. Then another both true, that is also true. Then both false, that is also true. Then false and true, since your conclusion is true, then that is true. And last example, construct a truth table for the quantity, if the quantity P and R, then Q. We have here on the table all the possible combinations of the truth values of the propositions P, Q, and R. First, we need to get P and R. So that is conjunction. So we'll only be needing the truth values under P and under R. Under conjunction, it will only be true if both the propositions are true. So first we have both true, that is true, true false, that is false, another both true, that is true, true false, that is false, false true, that is false, both false, that is also false, false true, that is false, and another both false, that is false. Now, it's time for us to get if the quantity P and R, then Q. In this case, the quantity P and R will be your conclusion, the hypothesis, and Q will be the conclusion. We'll be needing the truth table for the conditional, wherein it will be true if the conclusion is true or if both of the hypothesis and conclusion are false. So the conclusion is the proposition Q. So we have true and true, that is true. False true, that is also true. True false, that will be false. Both false, that is true. False true, that is also true. False true, another true. Then both false, that is true. And another both false, that is true. That is constructing a truth table. And let us discuss the concept of tautology, contradiction, and contingency. In case all the substitution instances of an argument are all true, the argument is said to be tautologous or tautology. It means that if the truth values are all true, then that is tautology. Next, a statement form that has only false substitution instances is said to be contradictory or a contradiction. So in here, it is a contradiction if all the substitutions or all the truth values are false. And lastly, contingency is a statement form that has true and false substitution. So this is a combination of truth values of true and false. So let us go back with the truth tables that we've constructed a while back and let us identify them if they are tautology, contradiction, or contingency. First, we have the truth table for P and negation of P. As we can see, we have the truth values of false and another false. Therefore, this will be classified as contradiction. Next, we have the truth table for negation of the quantity P and Q. So we have the truth values false, true, true, true. So this is contingency. This is a combination of false and true truth values. Next, we have the truth table for P or negation of Q. So we have true, true, false, true. So this is also another contingency. Next, we have the quantity if P, then Q, or negation of P. We have true, false, true, true. Another contingency. Next, we have the truth table for if P, then the quantity if Q, then P. We have true, 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 true. Since they are all true, then that is tautology. And last, we have the truth table for if the quantity P and R, then Q. So we have true, true, false, true, 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 true. So this is a combination of false and true truth values. This is contingency. So that is constructing truth table and tautology, contradiction, and contingency. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have learned something.